Now angels surround me, so demons take cover. I walked with the veil on my eyes, and those days are over. Dear God, is the light I use to live in so many days. Just praying that we could give you one last breath to say I'm sorry, one last chance to make it right, one last blessed days are needed. You are willing to, with one last breath, I can one last breath and one last chance. One last breath, days are needed. One last breath to say I'm sorry. One last chance to make it right. One last breath, days are needed. You are willing to, with one last breath. I love you.
So here we are with Robb Nash. This is welcome to a live / pre-recorded version of the Surrey School's mental health wellness presentation. Really glad to have Robb Nash on the unceded traditional territories of the Métis, Semiahmoo, Kwantlen, and Coast Salish people. We're at the beautiful Bell Center where Robb Nash just did his wonderful presentation. But I got to start with first. You folks have seen a little bit of Robb Nash when you watched at the beginning of this video, a little bit of the music, some of the pictures. You've seen portions, like a percent of the presentation. But Robb, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Robb Nash project, what you're doing, why are you doing this? You have a gripping personal story that you tell the kids, but why is this important to you?
Yeah.
And we're speaking to adults here, by the way, just so you know,
Yeah,
teachers, parents
Yeah.
watching this.
Well, I'm glad you said small bits of our music because it's only good in small quantities. No, I was when I was a teenager. I was in a massive car accident where I was actually found with no pulse, not breathing, and obviously I came back, got resuscitated. But I went from a 6'5" athlete to a guy getting bathed by his mom, and I went through a really dark time. And when I was in school, nobody was talking about opening up about when you're struggling, especially for guys, suck it up, be a man. And no one knew that for 2 years I didn't want to be alive. None of my friends knew, none of my family knew. And I made it through that dark time, and I thought, how many other young people are like me that are having those same thoughts and they're not talking about it? So I decided I should tell my story, and I thought, what's a good way to tell a story? Music, started a band, had a few top 10 hits on the radio, and big crowds, but I was waiting for it to turn into something not just successful, but significant. And then I was offered a 9-month tour to go to a few schools telling my story, and that went from 9 months to a 12-year tour, meeting with tons of students and seeing so many breakthroughs.
Well, as we look at what you've done, right, and look at all the kids you've seen, we've heard stories of kids returning suicide notes to you saying, we don't need this anymore, that's the thing that touched me, to say, we gotta bring these people here to the Surrey School District. If I were to ask you to quantify your vision for the project in one statement, and maybe add to that, because it's hard to keep what you do to one thing, what would that be?
Yeah, well, honestly, right now, suicide among youth is the second leading cause of death.
Absolutely.
That has to change. There's people that are fighting disease, there are people that are researching all different types of things, but that number can change, and that needs to change. And we have big goals, and we want to see that number change. We don't want that to be the second leading cause of death. You know, people need to be getting the help. There is help that is out there. People need to know that they're not alone. I know what it was like to be in that dark place where I thought that the world would be better without me. And so that's our goals. Our project this year alone, we want to reach 18,000 students.
Wow.
And it started here. Our first shows at the Bell Center in Surrey.
So I'm going to ask you an unscripted question.
Yep.
Why BC? Why Surrey? Why now? You've been doing this for, you said nine years?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing this mostly in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the central provinces. Why BC? Why now?
Well, honestly, we've done this for 12 years.
12 years.
We went from coast to coast to coast. We go all the way up to Nunavut. We've been in the Maritimes. But you know, there's some places where we're just more well known. You know, so Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. There's different pockets where we can do shows like this over and over. And it's been a while since we've been out in Vancouver and Surrey and stuff. And we've got staff that are out here. And they see their own kids and their students going through stuff, and they were passionate. They said, we got to get back out here. We saw this great venue, and our team started working on it, met with you, and said, and that's what it all starts with, is a connection. And it began with something remarkable. Your team, the venue, everything was great, and we saw some remarkable things happen together.
Well, that's fantastic. And to you, what's been the most impactful part of this project when it comes to working with schools and with school districts? Because from top 10 hits on the radio, right, what people call famous musician, to, you know, you're doing community work, right? And the production's amazing. You know, when you folks see the video, the whole, it's a professional production. But why this? Like, why not do professional music and then do this on the side? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the impactful part of the project? Why are you doing this? Well, is really what I'm asking.
Like, I knew how much music impacted my life, and every kid that you see walking down the street has earphones in their ears. They're listening to something, and that's feeding into their brain and ultimately into their heart. And that can be incredibly dangerous and negative, but it can also, music can calm you down when you need to rest. It can, you know, it impacts your spirit, right? And so music is such a good way to communicate, and I knew what it did to me. So my whole goal was, in playing music, was to get a platform. So I'll tell you this, we toured with a lot of big bands, and you meet them backstage, and you think they're going to be so fulfilled because they're rich and famous and all that stuff, but if you stop at success, you're limiting yourself. There's a great book, it's called From Success to Significance, and that's where you decide to do something use your success to do something that matters and something significant in the world around you. And some people think that walking away from my record deal, my publishing deal, my management deal.
Yeah, you shared about that. You lost money doing that, right?
Absolutely. And everyone thought it was a terrible decision. Like, what are you doing? Because we don't charge any money for this. We just try to raise the money to pull this off. But
it's true. They don't charge any money. It's amazing. It's fantastic. I'm speaking to the viewers now. Fantastic.
What we know is, like, if we just go to the places where there's going to be money, there's limited resources for mental health stuff. So if we only went to the times where people had money to pay for it, we just go. If we feel we're supposed to do something, we do it. And again, now, like, I don't feel it was a sacrifice to leave what people call a successful music career. This is fulfilling. You're talking about impactful stories, like you mentioned it. We've had over 900 students have handed us their suicide notes after their shows.
900?
917.
I think I said 200 to someone. 900 is much more than 200.
Yeah, and razor blades and bottles of Oxy and different things. We have breakthroughs here today after these shows. And we're partnering together with the schools. So there's always a counselor next to me, and we're able to draw out some of these emotions. And I'm not trying to be a counselor or a psychologist. I'm trying to use my platform to go, it is okay to raise your hand when you're struggling and not do it on your own. Because at the end of the day, schools, you have a tough job. You're trying to teach math, you're trying to get people ready for a job one day and do those things. But any teacher worth their salt understands that, you know, if somebody's going through something and they're not focused, they're sitting in class, they're going through something in their own brain, they're struggling, depression, anything, you're not going to be able to teach that math. You have to be able to draw some of this stuff out so you can get back to teaching this stuff. And we've seen so many breakthroughs, and I'll say this, the first few years were really tough. Because if somebody hands you a suicide note, a razor blade, they walk off with a school counselor, and you kind of cross your fingers and you hope that it wasn't just that they felt better for the day.
Yeah.
But now we just constantly at airports, malls, or even today, you know, we've got people walking up and
Amazing.
talking about how they've kept that promise and they've stayed clean from self-harm or from their addictions, and we hear those stories all the time now.
Well, you were on the radio, so you used to unscripted questions, right?
Yeah.
Why, after 12 years, like things have changed over 12 years, right?
Yeah.
My clothes are different.
Yeah.
Why do you think you are still connecting with kids after 12 years?
Yeah, I thought I'd be irrelevant too. I thank you for.
What? No, that's not what I meant. No,
No.
he's very relevant. But I'm just saying, like 12 years,
totally.
your music, like I saw you yesterday. Let me
Yeah.
just try to save myself here for the YouTube. The kids connected with you in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a skill that many public speakers try and have. It's a hard thing to do. How do you do that?
Well,
why do you think they connect with you?
I think there's something bigger in the room than me that's happening, which is key. But kids are smart; they can tell when it's genuine. You know, they're looking to see if you're insecure, but it's not doesn't hurt that we've got drum sets set up and they know they're about to see a concert. We're good at what we do, but they can tell when it's genuine. Even when we started working with Indigenous reserves, at first it was like, "What is this guy here for? Is this, was this a publicity stunt? You know, white boy. You know, what are you doing here?" And once they saw it was genuine, the Indigenous leaders, they had a ceremony. They gave me my spirit name.
Wow.
You know, they call me Bear Chief, and so the kids know when it's genuine, and they can tell if you're willing to be vulnerable, and draw that out. They can sense it, and if it's real, they'll eat it up, you know. And again, we've been doing it for a while, and I think the other reason that what we do really works is I only tell my story for about 5 minutes. Play a song, and then as you saw, I tell stories about people we've met over the years, younger people. Stories. I pulled 2 people up on stage. One girl that we met years ago. She had her own struggles. We pulled up Dylan to perform. So it's not just my story. I think that's the other reason why we stay so relevant. Is we pulled somebody out of the audience to perform with us.
Yeah,
you know?
I heard about that. I heard they gave away a couple guitars.
I gave away a couple guitars.
Yeah, fantastic. And you know, as I go to that vulnerability, and you do have a pre-meeting with teachers and with staff. Why is that important to you to connect with the teachers? Because I know that your staff, Linda. Shout out to Linda. I know she's not on camera. Just one small, there you go, right? Is that like multiple emails saying, teachers gotta come. You gotta meet with Robb, you gotta learn about this curriculum, and again, meeting with Robb Nash, robbnash.com, right? This is where you can find the information and the curriculum. But why is that important? Why is meeting with the teachers and the staff and showing them, and I heard your talk yesterday with the teachers, why is that important to you? It's not just a show, but...
Yeah, well, we're partnered together. We're here to validate teachers, the council. We're here to work together. Like, we're here this week to work together with you guys. We're here to validate that it's okay to open up to your staff and to treat them with respect. But before we meet with the show, we send videos for the staff to watch, and we send a video for the students to watch, and basically explaining, hey, we're about to do a presentation. We're going to be playing some music, telling some stories. We're going to have them laughing, you know, but we're going to get to some heavy topics, talking about things that people struggle with their mental health, you know. And so I love to meet with them beforehand just so that they can be, you know, watching the kids during the show and see if anybody's impacted by it. One of the biggest compliments we get is staff go like, wow, we expected her to be impacted by this, but look how he's reacting. This is incredible. And then after the shows, if they think a little interaction with me is going to help, the counselors can bring a kid backstage and spend a little time with them and just validate them and that relationship with any resources that they need.
Well, I know that Jeff, the guy holding the camera, everybody, was in the staff room of the school, and just the buzz from the teachers who have only seen small portions because they were coming in and out. They're like, this is fantastic. We need to bring these folks back over and over again. Right? You're making a big difference. Now let's talk resources. Right? Let's tell us about the curriculum, what it is. That's why I thought Linda would want to be in the video, but she said, I'll leave it to Robb. But what is it? The importance of the follow-up. And for those watching, we'll have a link to robbnash.com where the curriculum is free for people to use. I've also put it, just so you know, out for the last month to all the staff in Surrey, so they know it's one of our, we've counted you now as district partners. I hope that's okay. And having those resources available for the whole district. But tell us about that. Why did you develop resources? Because that's new, right? Last couple of years.
Well, so we were doing these presentations and, you know, over and over, like every week. We were booked 3 years out, but when COVID hit, you know, so many schools knew about how impactful we were in their school, you know, the culture of their schools. And they said, you know, when they started, I understand in the beginning of COVID, we were really nervous. Like, what is this? So is this going to take out our whole population? But pretty quickly we saw that young people, they need to be with each other. They need to be interacting. And you know, I think back to my story. I was in school when I was in that car accident where I was told to stay home and isolate and not be with my friends, not go to school, not play sports. And I know what happened to my mental health. So during COVID, we were getting flooded with schools saying, what do we do now? And we couldn't come do this. We couldn't bring 1,000 kids into a room or multiple schools like this, and we couldn't perform. Everything was in lockdown. So Linda, who you mentioned earlier, you know, she works for our team. She was a teacher, and she has her master's degree in curriculum writing. Amazing. So what we did is we put together a film crew, and we went around the country following up, making videos of people that we've met over on this tour, all with different stories, students that have had breakthroughs just to show kids victories. And we turn it into a curriculum, so kids, it's being taught in schools in 9 different provinces in 1 territory. We don't charge $1 for it. Obviously, we're always trying to raise money. But
of course. Kids
sit in class and they watch a 10-15-minute movie about my story. They watch a music video, and then they journal. What was Robb's struggle? Like, what was his breakthrough? And they journal about what they learned from my story. And those journal entries go straight to the school staff, so you can see what. And staff have just been so grateful, because they said, I've been teaching this kid for 3 years, and I had no idea. Like, it was flying under the radar. And so we're trying to draw those stories out. And now that we can go back and do these shows, we can do this in a much more holistic approach. Like, we did the performance, now the kids are engaged, teachers are engaged. They can go back to their classrooms, and they can now delve in deeper into some of these stories and journal and watch what comes out of those stories.
Well, and that's what I love about your curriculum. It's that ability to follow up. Right? I've been a teacher. Linda's been a teacher. And how many times have we, Linda, had a kid came in, the clothing's changed, their demeanor's changed, and we've said something like, don't worry, you'll be fine. You'll be better tomorrow. And we just forget about it after we start teaching English. You know, how many times have I done that and regretted it? Right? I've said that on YouTube. I've regretted that. Having this tool and having the follow-up, because sometimes as teachers, we don't know to follow up. The kid just could be, maybe he had a bad day, maybe he woke up funny, right? But if we had that tool and we could go back, and even if we're not counselors, and like what you're saying, you're not a counselor, but we can refer to a counselor or refer to a place where a kid can get help. How many lives could we save? How many kids could we help by doing that?
Totally. And, you know, I feel for teachers, because, you know, you're taught to teach math, and suddenly you're a life coach and a parent. And you deal with a lot of extra things, but one thing through our curriculum too, and through our resources, we're working on a project called Operation Overcome, where we just want to be able to pour in more and more resources when schools need it. If you need extra help with counseling and stuff like that, we want to be that resource for schools, for teachers, for parents, for students.
You know, you're saying this on YouTube, right? People are gonna start asking you about that, because this is the one thing that schools struggle with. We're with kids sometimes longer than home. Right, 7 hours. Actually, it's funny. I don't actually vacuum my house as much when my kids are in school, because there's no one there. Right. So I'm just lazy. And so, you know, the thing is, we're with these kids, and sometimes we want to refer them to community resources, but they don't always exist. So developing a resource like that, Robb Nash Project is a nonprofit, if I'm not mistaken, right? So if people want to donate, right? RobbNash.com, you can donate, because the money goes to this fantastic show, the resources, the free curriculum, all the stuff costs money, but it's provided to schools and staff and parents for free, so that kids can be helped. Like, I mean, that's your end goal, right? So when you're looking at your three-year plan, if I was to sit with you in 2026, which I know that we will be, because you'll be keep doing this, what do you want to see happen in 2026? What would you like? What's your 3-year plan? If I were to just put you on the spot and ask you that.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think the greatest compliment we get is we hear from staff and principals and teachers and say, wow, our school culture changed afterwards, because, you know, it's like, to the kid in the audience, maybe they're not going through something really that they're struggling with, but they might consider what the person in the class next to them, or the seat next to them, or sitting in the hallway, and people just start to look out for each other. Like, I've got so many stories of, like, young guys coming up and saying, you know, these guys came up and they said, hey, you know, we're kind of the bullies, and we're going to start sticking up for the kids instead. Like,
what?
Just a little thing
so
like that.
Good.
And this kid came up to us and he goes, Robb, you came to our school. This was typical, it was 3 years ago. You came to our school, and the guys that were always picking me started sticking up for me. They went from the people that I hated the most to my heroes. And so it's like changing the culture and just help people interact with each other and consider what might be going on in their lives and in the heads of the people around them. That's our biggest goal. And again, it's a lofty goal, but right now, suicide is the second leading cause of death.
Yeah.
Young people, and that has to change.
Well, that's that. About every day, 11 kids in Canada that we can count commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's the most, like, literally to me, is the most horrible stat. When we had all the COVID stats of this many people with COVID, I think we had a stat for how many kids we knew about ended their life, and then there's ones we don't know, the ones who end their life and don't tell anybody.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Well, yeah, because it's the parent has to choose too how they announce.
Right.
It's usually just tragically we lost our daughter this weekend.
Yeah.
Because there's a stigma that goes with the whole family and stuff. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we draw out these stories and people start to talk, express themselves. And we've seen amazing teachers too. Like you said, teachers, they've got so many hours with these kids, and you can get them express themselves through art, through poetry. You've got this time, and I always try to remind this of staff and say, like, you did not become a teacher because you wanted to be rich.
Yeah.
Like there's don't forget your why. Like, you did this because you wanted to have an impact on young people.
Yeah.
Sometimes if we're not careful, you forget about why you chose an occupation. It just becomes what you do, and we have to get back to the why. Like realizing, like for me, getting back to this first question, like I was in a car accident. I woke up from a coma, found out that I had died. And man, it just gives you a whole new perspective of like, I need to make every day count. Every day I need to learn something or teach something. And man, it just gives you new perspective. And I don't want others to have to go through what I did. I don't want others to have to die like I did before they start to live. And just realize, listen to those promptings. Notice that kid that's sitting alone in the hallway and just reach out.
I think with that's a great final word to end on. I'm sure, Jeff, you can edit it to make Rob
make me look good.
Make him better than he already looks. This show, I say, has been fantastic. The feedback has been amazing. I've been getting calls as I was driving here to interview you, how great it was. And again, Jeff saying the staffing, the principals of the school here. I'm actually sad that out of 78,000 kids, we can only impact 3. And my hope is that we can continue to do this work together. You guys as our district partner, again, that's robbnash.com. Check out the curriculum, check out the site. And of course, if you want to donate, please do. You get a tax receipt, right? But it goes to a good place and a good purpose. So, Rob, I just want to thank you. Do you want any last words?
No, you've been great. Thank you for your heart. You can tell you guys care for your kids, and I wish we saw that everywhere.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.